welcome to another episode of our newest podcast series, Tech View Pioneers of Innovation. Our guest today is Mr. Rakesh Bhargava. He is a stalwart in the fields of pharmaceuticals, medical devices, and medical nutrition. He was formerly the chairman of the Fresenius Kabi Oncology Limited, a subsidiary of the German healthcare conglomerate. He has mentored and advised numerous different startups in the health tech space. Outside of his work, he has also been recognized for his humanitarian efforts, particularly his efforts in the tsunami relief, and he was honored by the Rotary Foundation. For his holistic contribution to the society, he was awarded the Distinguished Alumnus Award by IIT Kanpur on 2021. Please welcome Mr. Rakesh Bhargava. Today he will be interviewed by Professor Amitabha Bandyopadhyay, who is the co-professor in charge of SIIC IIT Kanpur.
Okay, welcome Rakesh to our latest edition of Tech View, Pioneers of Innovation. In this series, what we are doing is we are interviewing stalwarts of Indian business and startup ecosystem to convey to our audience, which is primarily the startups, about what are the bright spots of Indian startup ecosystem, what are the typical do's and don'ts. Sometimes they make mistakes, and also looking ahead. So we'll start with you, today's chat. See, you have been a pro of the healthcare industry in the country. You have been at the helm of international organizations, national organizations, and now you are intimately associated with several startups and startup ecosystems.
Yes.
So the first question that I would like to ask you is that, as you know that today we import almost 87% of the medical devices. Government of India during the COVID period realized that they could tide over the entire COVID-19 crisis on the back of Indian startups and the innovation ecosystem. And now they're really investing heavily to prop up this whole ecosystem. Now you are now in Pune. You have seen the automobile industry grow in Pune, and you are yourself working with the medtech startups. Will you please draw a parallel between what happened with the automobile industry in the last 20-25 years and what you project will happen with the Indian medtech startup ecosystem or the medtech industry in the coming decade or so?
That's a very interesting question, Dr. Bandyopadhyay. But before I come to the answer, thank you very much for inviting me. And I am so happy to be here at my alma mater for my 50th Golden Jubilee reunion of my class of 1973. And I'm very happy to take some time out for this chit-chat.
We are really privileged.
Coming to your question, see, in the automobile industry used to be a very, very, what we call mechanical engineering industry. And the way it has evolved is that a new car, if you buy today, is full of electronics. Mm-hmm. It's like a smart car. So we are not yet there in totally self-driving and autonomous cars. But if you look at the latest models of Tesla, for example, they are pretty much there, almost 80% self-driving. And the basic thing about that is it's full of electronics. Mm-hmm. So from a pure mechanical engineering, it has evolved to a machine with brains. Mm-hmm. And this is the parallel I would like to draw with medical devices. So in medical devices, there were pretty much, I don't know if you've seen the old ventilator, it was pretty much a mechanical device. But today we are producing medical devices which are smart medical devices, and again it has a brain inside, which is the hardware inside, which controls very fine and precise either movements like in robotics or functioning of valves and proportionate valves, etc. inside a ventilator. So it's a lot of electronics inside. So that's one parallel I can say. And the other one is, of course, the energy saving. That earlier cars were, energy guzzlers, but the new cars are really going towards being green. They don't guzzle energy, and they are moving from internal combustion engines to electric cars, in between the hybrid cars. So energy saving, sustainability, all these things are there in automobile sector, and I'm sure they will be gradually, you will see the same thing in medical devices.
Yeah, also just to interrupt you a little bit, that again, because you were in Pune, if you think of the automobile industry in 1990s, okay, it was primarily Hindustan Motors and Padmini Fiat in Bombay. And then the Indian indigenous automobile industry started to grow initially on the back of imported cars being manufactured in the country. Then the component industry came, which is Pune is a huge hub. And then on the back of that, slowly the whole ecosystem grew, and now there are some world-class Indian automobiles. Now, if you look at it, for the medical devices also, right now the ecosystem does not exist, and there is this massive government push to make India self-reliant on medical devices. Do you see there is a parallel that how the ecosystem developed for the automobile industry over the last 20-25 years, and what will happen with the medical devices in the next 10 years or so? From this vantage point, how the ecosystem you think will evolve?
Yeah. So if we talk of ecosystem, the broad pieces of ecosystem are, first of all, design capabilities. So you need
very
good design engineers, supply of good design engineers. Then you need, of course, capital.
Yeah.
And which means sources of funds which are not so expensive. Then you need a vendor supply system, supply chain for parts or components should be easily available.
Yeah.
Testing facilities.
Yeah, without this.
Yeah, if there are no testing facilities, then whatever, if you're starting from design, design could be your own design, or it could be, technology transfer from somebody else, and you got to adopt it in your workshop. So that's a separate matter, completely design part. But you need a good supply chain for component according to the design.
Yeah.
So if it's locally designed, then you would probably design it based upon what is locally available. But if it's imported technology, then you are dependent on that supply chain.
Yes.
Then testing facility for those components. Again, it's design and testing facilities are interrelated, because if it's local design, then you will have those testing facilities. But if it is a foreign design, then you need to have testing facility for imported components according to their design.
Yes.
Then finally, once you have the finished product, that needs to be tested mechanically, electrically, and electromagnetic, and then whatever is the regulatory tests on that need to be performed. Automobile also is another parallel between automobile and medical devices. Both are highly regulated industries. Highly regulated. Everything about automobile is regulated, and the thing which is again common is safety. So the regulations are for safety, and for environment, which means exhaust from a car.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and same way in medical devices, you are generating medical waste. So there is regulation around that. So basically, it is safety of the equipment itself or the car itself, and safety of those who will be using it. So safety of passengers in a car and safety of patients
For
in
the
a medical device, or paramedics or doctors who will be using that device. So safety is again a common thing, and then as I said, environment. So there's so many commonalities between the two, and it's a very interesting thought that you brought up. Now that I see it, lots of commonalities. Then another piece of ecosystem is availability of people who will be working.
Skilled manpower. Yeah.
So manpower, skilled manpower to do the job of the whole, manufacturing, testing, and sales, marketing, everything, vendor development, distribution channel.
Yeah.
So all that, we need skilled manpower to do all that.
Yeah. I will tell you.
Then I would say another thing, like in financial, one thing is setting up manufacturing, other one is financial system for affordability of the product.
Yes.
So in cars, for example, you have EMI system, these non-banking finance companies, banks financing car loans.
Yeah.
It's very important for success of any product.
Yes.
That people should be able to afford it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And same way in medical device, if it's large equipment costing crores of rupees, like MRI machine or something like that, you do need that financing system.
Yeah.
So that's also a very important part of the ecosystem, whole ecosystem for the success of the industry.
I agree. I'll share a couple of good news with you. Maybe you already are aware that on December 25, 2023, the Honorable Health Minister launched a program called MedTech Mitra. MedTech Mitra is basically a platform being championed by Indian Council of Medical Research, where they are bringing in the regulators. We're talking about safety and standard. So the regulators will be there on that platform. The licensing agency, CDSCO, will be there on that platform, and hospitals where the clinical trials will be done, and the engineers and scientists from different universities and institutes, so like IIT Kanpur is certainly part of that, and of course startups. And the beauty is that as a product is going through this journey, that what are the requirements, safety requirements, what are the technical demands for that. If there is a need, then ICMR will fund it as well. Okay. So it is a pretty comprehensive system that ICMR is developing, and they have already started working on it. And around the same time, CDSCO announced setting up of a single window clearance system. So these two taken together, I think the speed of medical device development and taking them to the market will increase. In that context, I would like to tell the viewers that two of our startups, right, Nokark Robotics and Intrigus are being mentored by you, and the strength and their issues that they have faced, particularly surrounding this regulation, etc. So, and also they have really done a fantastic job. So if you say a few things about them one at a time, maybe first Nokark, you have been the Nokark journey from the day it started. So if you would share a little bit with our audience that how it all happened and what is the stage of the company today and what are their challenges, how it is being mitigated, etc.
Okay. Nokark Robotics is really very dear to my heart. because it is founded by two IIT Kanpur graduates and incubated right here in SIIC. So, and then I am alumnus of IITK myself, so that's a very, very strong bond I feel with this company. And I was invited to mentor it by Dr. Bandyopadhyay, and I very gladly jumped into it. So, the company started as a robotics company in the business of designing and selling robots for cleaning solar panels. So a typical solar panel field would be several kilometers long, and it's not possible to clean those panels manually. So they designed a robot with a technology that it could clean with a brush, waterless, so it would conserve water also. That was the really patented part, that they could clean it without water. So they were doing pretty well. Actually, they had several good orders, large orders, but then the pandemic struck in 2020, and because of the very harsh lockdown announced in March 2020, the business came to a complete stop. So it was an existential crisis for them, what to do, how to survive. And around the same time, there was this challenge to produce ventilator in the country, because ventilator exporting countries to India had put a ban on exports. So Indian patients were like dying because they couldn't have access to ventilators. So this challenge was accepted by IIT Kanpur to design a ventilator, and Dr. Bandyopadhyay's team, at that time he was the head of this SIIC, and his team provided a lot of support in design of this ventilator by Mokat. And you can imagine there's a complete lockdown. How do we source components? So it was such a big challenge, but luckily in our group of what we call ventilator task force, there were some very resourceful people who could arrange supply of these components from China, from Taiwan, from Vietnam, from Europe, from Singapore, and carrying them from those countries to India by air was also a miracle. It was arranged by none other than our alumni Rakesh. At that time he used to own Indigo Airlines, and Indigo Airlines chipped in. They used to ferry these components. The ambassador in China, ambassador in Singapore, he helped. The Department of Defense helped. The Secretary of Defense, Government of India at that time was again IIT Kanpur alumnus. So he helped wherever he could in the logistics. The Customs Department helped in quick custom clearance. And we used to have meeting at 12 noon every single day for 3 months to solve all these design problems and logistics problems, putting it together. So this was put together, and the specs of the government tender which was put out for a ventilator, they were evolving. We designed to one spec and then we take it for testing. This is sorry, spec has changed, so we redesign it. So we went through several design iterations, and then it was designed according to the specs. Then next step was to do a clinical trial. And that was a challenge. That's when I really came into active mode, because I had a strong connection with hospitals because of my job in a medical device company that produces ICU equipment. And we started with an artificial lung, which is a mechanical device which mimics the lung, human lung. So first it was tested on that artificial lung, and then we felt confident, yes, we can take to human, and then which human. And we couldn't go through the classic clinical trial process, because at that time there was no concept of medical device clinical trials. The ethics committee wouldn't even know how to do clinical trial for medical device. So we had to take a deep breath and think, what do we do? And this, the head of the department of one very large hospital in Pune, am I allowed to take names?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Dr. Prachi Sathe, she's the director of ICU of Ruby Hall group of hospitals. And she's a good friend of mine, and she said, okay, this is the need of the country. So one of the doctors in my team will be your human trial patient. And this doctor, it's so hard to believe, he agreed. So what does a ventilator do? The ventilator is a device which acts like a lung, and it puts a mixture of oxygen and air at a fixed proportion decided by the doctor, at a pressure decided by the doctor, and the volume decided by the doctor, and humidity level decided by the doctor, puts it into the lung, and then it takes it out of the lung. So it just like works like a lung, because lung itself is diseased, is not able to function. So ventilator does that function, and this doctor, he is a healthy person, his disease is working fine, but still he agreed to connect his lung to this ventilator, and then it worked perfectly, and we were really overjoyed. And then Dr. Prachi Sake, she suggested some modifications which were done very quickly, and then we connected to an actual patient with a diseased lung, and it worked. And then the product was launched. The first meeting we had was sometime in April 2020, and the product was ready to be launched in July 2020.
Yeah, 29th July.
So it was quite a journey, and the product was launched, and it was very quickly adapted by all those hospitals which were not able to import ventilators due to the export ban from those countries. And they sold something like 3,000 ventilators to all the hospitals in Maharashtra, in Karnataka,
Tamil
Nadu, Andhra, Telangana. And I would say each ventilator must have saved at least 20 to 30 lives. So we have, through this startup, we have saved lots of lives. But then, after the pandemic, we felt that that was a very basic design which was done only with the components which were available at that time.
And this is the purpose of COPD only, like COVID patients.
Yeah, COVID patients. So then we said that no, we must design a ventilator which would compete with the best in the world. And that project was taken up starting in 2021 end actually. And this ventilator was launched in June 23 by the hands of none other than Padma Vibhushan Dr. Raghunath Mashekar. So he was very happy to see the progress of this company, and the connection was that he was chairman of a award committee of Mariwala Foundation, and he remembered this company, and this company received that award. So he remembered that this company was very good, and then when I invited him to launch the product, he was very happy. So now this product is ready, and it's now being rolled out into the market, and the feedback that we received is that it's really very good. And then you will say, how does it compete with foreign products, well-established multinational products? So multinational products, the thing is that their design, the electronics part of the design, is not as modern as the smoke ventilator.
Oh, really?
Because it was designed maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago.
The
design itself, the component itself, and the modular design, etc. There's so many design concepts. So that is definitely superior. The only thing it doesn't have is the neonatal mode. Neonate means newly born. So newly born is very, very sensitive, the lung. So only that mode is not there, but it is being developed. But other than that, it can compete with the best in the world. Financially, we hope to quickly reach turnover of 50 crore.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Yep. It is so satisfying.
Yeah, and then it will be once we arrange finances, we will go for CE clearance, because CE requires a lot of testing and investment in all those tests.
Yeah.
So after CE testing is done, then export market for Europe and many other countries will be open. After that, it will be US FDA.
Okay.
But CE first.
Okay. So that's pretty good. So, I'm pretty sure during the journey of Nokark, particularly post-pandemic, there have been many lessons learned which can benefit other startups. So if you can very briefly talk about a couple of the challenges that the company faced and how the mentorship helped in.
I have watched this company very closely, and two things I would say they could have done better. And the first thing is very important. They have two founders. Both are engineers from IIT Kanpur, so they don't bring complementary competencies.
Yes.
So this will be my advice, that if you are a founder, please find a co-founder who brings in a different set of competencies, not same as yours.
Yes.
Because then 1 + 1 makes only 2 if they are similar. But if you have different competencies, then it becomes 11.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So this is one issue with Nokark, and we pointed out to them, and then we said, look, if you can't find at founder level, at least at a director level, you find a person who brings a lot of commercial and sales and marketing expertise. This is one. And the second thing is financial discipline. So when you get the initial funding and then you make a success, you sell 3,000 ventilators, and that is a lot of money, it's a lot of cash in your hands. So you have to spend that cash for your future in a very, very careful way. You can't just, become easy with the cash. So cash flow management is also extremely, extremely important for a startup.
Yes.
And the third thing is to raise the next round of cash. And if you spend this cash which you generated initially carefully, then it's much easier to
raise the next
generate
round,
because they know your financial management.
This is what I would really emphasize, that every assumption that you will possibly make as a startup, just make it worse by another degree to have your readiness. Otherwise, if you are working on rather optimistic assumptions, then you will run into trouble. So you mentor another startup from SIIC, a very different kind. While Nokark is basically an electromechanical device company, Intiglus, on the other hand, is an in vitro diagnostic company, bringing a very different kind of a novel product to the country. If you would say a little bit about, I know that we brought you in for Intiglus a little late in the game after the prototype was at least developed. So if you would share a little bit of your experience working with Intiglus.
So Intiglus is at a stage which is much earlier than where Nokark is, because Nokark already launched their first product in the market, and now they are launching the second product, and they have learned a lot actually already, and they raised already 2 rounds of funding. Intiglus is at much earlier stage. They have their business is taking care of pregnant ladies, and that is one kind of products, and the other one is reproductive health of, again, ladies. So they have these kind of products. For pregnant ladies, they have a screening test for pre-eclampsia, which is a disease afflicting pregnant ladies that can be very dangerous. It can be dangerous to the mother as well as the baby. It can be fatal, very dangerous. This is a screening test, and then they have these diagnostic tests for reproductive health, for various kinds of diseases, diagnostic tests. And again, it's very high tech because it is based on biomarkers, and this is a new way of testing. Just like when we had COVID, then an Indian company developed this RT-PCR test. So
Myla.
Myla. So similarly, they have similar kind of tests, and they are very brilliant minds working there. But again, this co-founder problem was there.
Yes.
They had two co-founders, and both same kind of
Scientists.
scientists, engineers in biotech and biomolecular diagnostics, etc., etc. And then they have separated. So now there's only one founder, and there's no other co-founder which is bringing commercial knowledge. So this is what I am advising them, that you please find another co-founder.
Very
important. Same issue there. So now they are at a stage that they are going to conduct clinical trials for their first product, which is a screening product. And this is very important because there are these United Nations Millennium Development Goals on maternal and child mortality. And this product fits in perfectly with that, and then it can help in achieving those goals. And this is what I tell them, that it's a very, very nice product. And the other thing is that competing products are available in the market, but they are very expensive, and they are lab tests. So you have to send the sample to a lab, and the result comes later in the day or the next day. And this one is a bedside test, which this company has developed. So in 15 minutes, the result comes.
It makes a whole lot.
One drop of blood on the test strip, and then after 15 minutes, you get the result. The other very important thing is that it's a predictive test. It can predict if the pregnant lady is going to have preeclampsia or not. So if you can predict, then you can prevent. The current test is after the disease has occurred. So then you are at a treatment stage. You have passed the prevention stage. But this test will allow the clinician to prevent, which is much better than treatment.
I agree. So this is for the viewers, having a successful product is a necessary condition to succeed in the marketplace, but having all the aspects of business ticked right is actually the sufficient condition, without which it will not happen. And we are running out of time, so the last segment with your last question. So you are somehow you are basically a UPite now. You have lived all over the country, but but I know that you have a weak corner for the UP, and UP government has really shown deep interest in investing in health infrastructure, but particularly public health infrastructure, and becoming a leader in healthcare in the country. And I know that you were associated with those efforts to some extent. So, what do you think are the essential things for UP government to do, and where do the startups fit in this whole equation?
I am from UP. I was born here and I studied here, but I have never worked here. After graduation from Amitabha, I have worked in many other places, but never in UP. But I have always maintained this bond with UP, and when I got to know of Yogi Ji's, Honorable Chief Minister of UP's goal that he wants to achieve $1 trillion economy of UP by the year 2029. So that was exciting for me. And then I found out more about it, and then I discovered that they have identified several enabling sectors to achieve the goal of $1 trillion. And one of the enabling sectors is healthcare. So again, I was interested, and Deloitte company is advising them for structuring this in a proper way of getting this going. So I was approached actually by Deloitte. To see if I could be interested. And the meeting with Deloitte was arranged by another classmate of mine, because he was already working on the AI part of this whole thing. Because AI is another enabling sector. So that's how I got into this, and I'm very. They had the first meeting on the 30th of January, very recently, a few days ago, and I could see the level of seriousness. The government of UP, Chief Minister himself has appointed Dr. G.N. Singh as his advisor for healthcare sector. Dr. G.N. Singh is a very illustrious scientist himself, past Drug Controller General of India. And in the meeting I could see the seriousness. The Principal Secretary was present throughout the 2-hour-long meeting, and very, very high level of discussion. There were representatives from various hospitals and from Drug Research Institute, Lucknow. And in that meeting, what we discussed was how to promote clinical trial sector in UP, which is a very important part of the total spectrum of healthcare, because healthcare, hospitals, pharmaceuticals, medical devices, supply chains of all these, distribution, and clinical trials. So this meeting was for clinical trial, and there my request was that clinical trial is a very, very nascent topic, because medical device industry itself is very new. As Dr. Bandyopadhyay said, it's developed only post-pandemic. So the knowledge about clinical trial also evolving, and UP government has, for the healthcare sector, already decided to have 3 industrial parks. One for medical devices in near Noida, near the new Zewa airport, and then one for formulations of pharmaceuticals, other one for active ingredients of pharmaceuticals. So there are 3 industrial parks. And in this meeting, I mainly talked about medical devices. I said, look, focus of clinical trial, let's have one more vertical for medical devices, not just for pharmaceuticals, to give a clear focus that medical device industry should be developed. It's a very new industry, so why not develop it in UP? We already have this medical part. So a few things which we could definitely do is that one struggle that we saw there was testing, which I mentioned is part of the ecosystem. That testing of the machine itself in development stage, various components, testing them for electrical and then mechanical, electromagnetic. All those testing have several international standards, and we need testing facilities for those, and if those can be developed in this Noida Industrial Park, that would be great. And then testing of components is one, and then once the machine is ready or the device is ready, then testing of that device according to BIS is mandatory now, just like CE is for Europe, USFDA is for USA, for India it is BIS. And there is no BIS testing facility in whole of UP. So this is one thing, and my request was that if we have 3 IITs in UP, several other engineering colleges, if one could be developed as a testing center for BIS, it could be a revenue generating stream for IIT or for the institute. because institutes are always short of funding and they need to generate revenue, and this is a commercial thing they could do.
Yeah.
And to give you an idea that each machine test would be from 20 to 50 lakhs of rupees, one machine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then coming back to that startup, a startup can ill afford this kind of money.
Yeah.
So if it is done at a IIT,
Yes.
then IIT can perhaps do it at a lower cost for startups and nice profit cost for an established company.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So and then the centers for conducting clinical trials, again UP government could facilitate that.
Yeah.
And when we say center, then it is lots of things like ethics committee. Ethics committee also needs to be trained.
Mm-hmm.
The staff conducting the clinical trial, the doctors conducting, they need to be trained because it's a new subject.
Mm-hmm.
The procedures and guidelines are also not established, which is what UP FDA could do. The government is in the process of issuing a new medical device policy, but rules under that policy are yet to be notified.
Okay.
So those rules, whenever they are notified, will be notified, but UP government can take a lead and study such rules in US FDA and CE and design some rules in the meantime and get on with the work instead of waiting for CDSCO to notify. So this is very important to get so that everybody is on the same page. Whoever is conducting clinical trials will have the same guidelines. Then training I have already mentioned. Insurance is also very important because sometimes clinical trial can result in complications.
Mm-hmm.
So insurance of the doctor who is conducting the trial, paramedic and the patient himself is very important. Then funding of the clinical trial, grants etc. UP government could do that. Some kind of grant. Grants are available, but maybe they can make a budget to give these grants for clinical trials so that they could develop this culture of doing clinical trials in UP.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like the way UP government is thinking will certainly pave the way for much lower cost of production and going to the market for medical devices made in India without sacrificing the quality at all. If anything, just like you gave the example of according the quality can be better than what exists.
Yes.
Because we are starting now, the technology has moved, so we can ride the wave exactly where it is today. So it looks like that this sector is really looking bright in the country. Government is serious, startups are capable, the ecosystem is developing, and there are mentors like you available, and I think it's good news for all the startups thinking about getting into the medical device ecosystem. So with that, Rakesh, on that optimistic note, thank you very much for being with us today and sharing your experience with the young startups and thanks again.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bandyopadhyay, for giving me this opportunity, and my pleasure entirely.
Thank you.